Hello and welcome back to Pokemon FireRed Nuzlocke. It's me, once again, Phoenix Diluted. I know, crazy, right? You were expecting but it was me, Dio! So, let's see. Last time we left off, we had trained you up to 9, you're still on 8, and you're on 4. I'd probably get you the level 9 as well, just to get you even, and then I'll train Carrie over in the forest, where he can just demolish the bugs as soon as he gets like Peck or Gust, whatever one he gets first. I think it's Gust. And I think last time I also talked about how horrible my engineering professor was. There isn't really anything about that left. I just wanted to align myself about what I might want to talk about next. Anything left about college? Anything left about college? You know, I don't think so. I guess I can talk about how my college put me down as a arts major? Like a fine arts major? Even though I told them I'm a biomedical engineer, or I want to be. Like, I don't know how they got in their mind that, yeah, you know, biomedical engineer, fine arts. So for my first semester, you know, me being a dumb freshman and not knowing anything, you know, I never really looked really into it. I thought they'd just put me as a, you know, associate of science or applied science. And that was that. But for some reason, my first semester, I had to pick a class that was like art history for a fine arts credit or something. Art history. I'm like, okay, so maybe like I just have to have a fine arts credit, you know. I can understand that maybe. We had to have one in high school, why not in college as well? Yeah, fine arts was it was interesting. They laid it out somewhat like they do US history, which for those of you who don't know, when you get into college, US history is not just one class. They split it up into 2 classes. So you have US history from its inception to like 1877 or something, and then 1877 to modern day. And oh my god, I might just run away from this Pidgey. It's annoying me. Even though that'd be a lot of XP. But yeah. Back in high school, I had taken the AP test for US history, and fun fact, I had taken like 4 AP tests or something in my college, my high school years. I passed one of them. US history. I passed one of them. I was and still am terrible at standardized tests. So, you know, I thought, yay, I don't have to take US history in college. Wrong. I don't have to take one US history. I have to take the other one, though. But that was a bit of a tangent. I'm talking about art history. So they lay it out somewhat like US history, where it's like classical art, or like the beginning of art itself, which, for those of you who don't know, caveman paintings, like beginning of art. And it's like the beginning of art to some era. I would like to say like somewhere around Victorian, maybe, possibly somewhere around there. And then maybe it's from like there to like Christianity, possibly. Like like BC art, and then there's like AD art, maybe. Maybe that's how they laid it out. But I decided to take AD because I didn't want to be looking at a whole bunch of cave paintings all the time and being like, what does this like make you feel? I'm like, I think that makes me feel that he had a pointy stick. So I took 80, and you know, once we got to like a certain point, it was actually quite interesting to see some of the art styles, because if you don't know me, also, I like art. It's like my escape, sort of. Like, apparently, like, a lot of STEM people have like a specific art, a fine art that they just kind of like as a hobby, that they can just like decompress their brain or whatever. You know, because all the STEM students just have huge brains. We got just overflowing with brain. But jokes aside, I like, I wouldn't say necessarily painting. I like doing pour arts and like resin art. I paint occasionally, but I'm usually not the best at just like traditional style. And I'm trying to get good at digital, but that's not, don't expect anything too good from me. And so I kind of enjoyed it. I kind of enjoyed art history. And for one of my projects I really like to do is I had to go to a museum and do a in-depth study about one particular piece. And I chose the piece, the Archangel Michael. Or Michael the Archangel. Fuck. I think it's Michael the Archangel. And it's this like beautiful painting that's like, it's huge. It's probably like 12 feet tall or something. And it's this depiction of the Archangel Michael stabbing the devil. But it looks really, like, it looks so good. The shading on it, just the contrast, it looks so good. So I decided to do that. And looking at all the other paintings in museums was nice too. They, you know, for some reason the Museum of Houston has some stuff from Egypt, which I'm like, how did you get that? But they got a lot of things. And honestly, if you haven't just taken like a look at a museum in your state slash city slash county, wherever you folks live, like, it can be honestly, you know, enjoyable. Some of the paintings in there like made me laugh just because like they have like a like there's one particular painting of like a little baby with angel wings, which is how most some people depicted angels, with just like babies with wings, but he had a knife. And he looks like he was just about to stab this random dude. And like, you know, I thought that was pretty entertaining. So like, if you and your friends just ever want to goof off, head over to a museum. Get a laugh at some of the paintings. You know, be mindful of the people around you, but you know, just gotta goof off a bit, have fun. And yeah, and then it wasn't until after my semester, my first semester, that I figured out, oh wow, they put me down as a fine arts student. I didn't have to take that class. Neat. It still doesn't matter too much, because when I go to transfer to an actual university, I can pick and choose what credits I want to transfer over, so I can just choose not to transfer that over. It's not like it actually matters too much. But yeah, it was still a decent class. And plus, the college that I'm at now, dirt cheap. It's so cheap, man. For like my 3 or 4 classes a semester, it cost me like $2,000 in total. Which for a broke man like me, I'm like, 2,000, my heart. But that's better than A&M here in Texas, where instead of $2,000 total for a semester, it is $2,000 total, $2,000 for each class. So I'm saving 1/4 I am at going to a major university right now, and most likely will be able to transfer over most of my credits. Most likely. Like, they'll probably be like, if I had to guess, they'll probably be like, oh, you took Cal 1 through 3 and derivatives and equations? Yeah, we're gonna need you to take Cal 2, Cal 3, and derivatives and equations again. And, you know, to just take it here. Which will be like, oh, okay, whatever. But at least it'll be like, I already took the class, I already know what it is, so it'll be really easy. Plus, I think if I remember correctly, calculus and derivatives and equations are the same. Like, they're in one class. I think they mash it together in most universities. So there's that. Let's try and shift this conversation over to something not as boring as college. Because college is probably boring for a lot of people. Let me bring it over to my good old sheet, my notebook paper of topics to write down in case I just get too boring and I need something to talk about. But before I do that, let me just break out good old bubbles and get myself hydrated. Oh, hydration's important. Thank you, Bubbles. Okay. So, I could talk about some good shows that I'm watching. I'll try and pick like a small one because we're getting towards the end, but oh, you'll never notice that looking at the scroll bar. A good show. A good show. I put this on my list, but that's just because like I enjoyed binge watching it. And that is, if you don't know, it's called Black Clover. It's an anime that is it's one of your classic magic-based animes. And I'll be honest with you, when I was watching it like on a week-to-week basis, I quit. I quit watching it in general when it was around like episode 40 to 42. Even though there's some really good battle scenes there, I just quit watching it. Because to me, it was just so... They couldn't keep my attention for the week-to-week basis. I was never like, oh boy, I can't wait to see what happens next week. I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to, you know, next week for... just to have some more battle scenes and nothing really happened too much or something. So I stopped watching it. And it wasn't until like months later that I actually continued to watch it again. It wasn't until probably around like the episodes like 80 that I started being like, okay, I'll give it another try. And I gotta say, watching Black Clover in like a binge format where you can go on like one episode after the other. Hey, Bubbles is level 10. Yeah, when you can go on like just a binge and watch it, so good. It's the show is it's a lot better if you can just binge it, because then you just don't become bored with waiting each week for some slow content to roll around. It actually almost reminds me of Naruto, because I mentioned this I think already in a previous episode, but I actually started watching Naruto again, and I gotta say, even with a binge format, Naruto is so boring. It's so boring because it follows the same format every time. I know it's an older anime and they all kind of suffer from that, but god, it's so boring. It makes me want to quit, but I know, like, I just want to finish it. I want to finish it and say I watched Naruto full, like, through and through. But for a little tidbit for Naruto, before I get back on the Black Clover, if you watch Naruto, like before Shippuden, you can stop watching Naruto after the Sasuke fight. I'm just telling you that now to save you a whole lot of time. Nothing important happens at all after the Sasuke fight. Nothing important at all. If I remember correctly, you don't even find any like important characters like in that kind of time. They might come on later that I just haven't seen yet, but honestly, it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. And for Black Clover, back on the Black Clover, it's just really good. I like it. I like the basis of like the main character is without too spoilery if you haven't seen it, I guess. He is not portrayed as like a main protagonist, I guess I should say. he has a brother. He's an orphan. His brother is orphaned. They're orphans. All right, they're in a small town. They're orphans, and he is presumably with like he has like no magic at all. And his brother like is blessed with magic or whatever. And they get these things called grimoires, which is basically like what they can use to cast spells of higher calibers when they get a certain age. And his brother gets like this super like apparently like OP book that's called like the 4-leaf clover. Most people get like 3 leaves or something. And he gets this super OP book, and everyone's just like, oh my god, he has the super OP book. And then the brother is just standing around. He's just like, hey, where's my book? And then his book just doesn't pop around. Everyone laughs at him. And then some anime shit happens, and he gets a book, but it pulls out a sword. So like, I love like the aspect that he's like an anti-opposite protagonist, but he still has like good in mind. Obviously, like he's he's like your typical shonen protagonist, like, man, I want to protect everybody and stuff, but he doesn't have any like real power to do it. He just but his brother, who's like as technically a side character, is technically like you would think be the main protagonist. And like you see them like have like their feuds every once in a while, but they're still like brotherly love towards each other. Like they're rivals, I should say. Like, and they express that to the fullest belief that they are rivals, and it's just really good, I would say, when you can watch it in a binge format. But what's not really good right now is that you'll have to see me next time on Pokemon FireRed NUZLOCKE.